The dawn light streamed through the polished chrome fixtures of Maplewood Diner, an establishment where the aroma of melted butter and maple syrup typically offered solace and refuge. Yet on this specific morning, the brightness failed to dispel the shadows that had settled within the souls of several heartless youths. Near the window sat a young woman confined to a wheelchair, her stack of pancakes positioned before her like a delicate barrier against an unforgiving world. Clara was her name, and while her expression bore the silent resilience of one who had weathered countless storms, her shaking fingers revealed her inner turmoil. The group of boys at the adjacent table did more than simply mock her. They violated a boundary that should remain sacred. One struck the dish from her grasp, causing the meal to scatter across the checkered floor, while another shoved her wheelchair backward with contemptuous force. The restaurant went silent. The cruel laughter of the tormentors echoed more powerfully than the crash of ceramic against tile. Clara's vision blurred with approaching tears. She struggled desperately to maintain composure, but the sting of embarrassment seared more intensely than physical agony. If you hold the conviction that compassion must triumph over malice, that opportunities for redemption have value, and that no human being should endure such treatment, please pause now to like this video, leave a comment, share it with your network, and subscribe to Untold Stories 0.4. United, we can demonstrate to the world that empathy possesses greater strength than hatred. Clara's existence had been marked by continuous challenges. She entered the world with a spinal defect that made her dependent upon a wheelchair. Yet her guardians consistently assured her that her essence was destined to rise, regardless of her leg's limitations. She held fast to this conviction, even as society frequently appeared intent on destroying it. Daily she encountered silent stares, hushed comments, or the condescending expressions of passers-by who couldn't fathom her reality. However, what she experienced that morning in the restaurant transcended mere pity. It represented malice keen enough to pierce the very spirit. While the boys celebrated their actions, fellow diners averted their gazes. Several displayed their disapproval through head shakes, yet remained passive. The server, her arms laden with coffee mugs, stood motionless in the walkway, terror visible across her features. Clara leaned forward clumsily, attempting to collect her scattered breakfast with unsteady hands, anxious not to create additional disturbance. At that moment, another hand extended downward, not harsh, not ridiculing, but tender. An elderly gentleman, silver threading his hair, silently retrieved the plate and positioned it before her once more. "Pay them no attention," he murmured softly, though his gaze shifted anxiously toward the cluster of adolescents. The gentleman's compassion resembled a solitary flame wavering within a chamber filled with darkness. Nevertheless, Clara remained feeling vulnerable, damaged in ways invisible to others. She remained motionless afterward, her hunger vanished, her throat constricted with unuttered thoughts. She longed to question why existence operated this way, why individuals believed it permissible to torment those who were different. Her heart hammered within her chest with each explosion of mirth from the tormentors who now boasted loudly of their courage, blind to the cruelty of their deeds. Clara shut her eyes and wished for the time to pass swiftly, for the ordeal to conclude. 60 minutes later, something unforeseen occurred. Something that transformed the complete atmosphere of the establishment. It started as a distant rumbling, resembling approaching thunder. Heads pivoted toward the expansive glass panels as the noise intensified, becoming more recognizable. Multiple motorcycles entered the parking area, their chrome surfaces reflecting the sunlight. The spectacle alone caused conversations to cease and utensils to pause mid-motion. The distinctive emblem of the Hells Angels adorned their leather garments as they arranged themselves in a precise formation, engines snarling like an advancing tempest. The Bullies, who mere moments before had exhibited supreme confidence, suddenly became agitated. Their sneers wavered. Everyone recognized the Hells Angels' reputation: bold, fearless, and willing to defend their principles. When the restaurant door opened, the entrance chime rang gently, but the quietness that ensued spoke more loudly than any sound. A massive man bearing a beard and eyes like steel entered, his vest adorned with numerous patches. Another followed, then another, until the diner seemed diminished, its atmosphere electric with anticipation. Clara's eyes expanded, her heartbeat accelerating with both terror and amazement. The frontman surveyed the space, his attention piercing as it moved across the Bullies. Then his expression grew gentle when it found Clara. It appeared as though he comprehended everything without any verbal exchange. He approached closer, his footsteps resonating on the tiled surface, and crouched beside her. For the first time since morning, Clara didn't feel diminished. She felt acknowledged, safeguarded. The leader, known as Roar, slowly directed his attention toward the bullies. They remained motionless, their pallid faces revealing their culpability. No one dared to laugh any longer. Roar's tone was quiet, controlled, yet forceful enough to penetrate the stillness. Though Clara couldn't discern his precise words, she witnessed the remorse flood the bullies' expressions as their false confidence dissolved. Individually, they emerged from the booth and stumbled toward the doorway, heads bowed, avoiding all contact. They no longer dared to look in Clara's direction. Beyond the windows, the motorcycles created a barrier of metal and leather, ensuring the boys' shame was absolute before their retreat. Yet Roar's actions continued beyond this point. He summoned the waitress, placed a substantial bill upon the table, and instructed her to serve Clara whatever she desired. Pancakes, milkshakes, dessert, the entire selection if she preferred. He assured her that she possessed more strength than any of the cowards who had attempted to crush her spirit. Then, in an act no one within that restaurant would ever forget, he removed his personal leather vest, placed it carefully around Clara's shoulders, and declared her part of their family. Tears flowed down Clara's cheeks. Not tears born of shame, but tears of appreciation. Within that single hour, her world had changed. What commenced as a morning of suffering transformed into a moment of deep metamorphosis. She understood that kindness could emerge from the most unexpected sources, and that occasionally the most intimidating individuals possessed the gentlest souls. The restaurant responded with subdued applause, several customers dabbing moisture from their eyes. The waitress embraced Clara, vowing that she would never again occupy that space feeling overlooked. For the first time in ages, Clara experienced a wave of optimism. She recognized that while cruelty persisted, so did bravery. And sometimes strangers could intervene to alter the conclusion of your narrative. If this narrative has moved your heart and reminded you that compassion can emerge even in the most improbable circumstances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with companions, subscribe to Untold Stories 0.4, and contribute a comment below. Your engagement enables us to continue distributing stories that uplift and restore. Before we conclude, I have one particular request. Share in the comments what your response would have been if you had witnessed this scene in that diner. Would you have defended Clara? Your thoughts might encourage someone else to demonstrate courage when their moment arrives.